So I remember going to the doctor when I was younger, like in my 20s, maybe even into my 30s. Let's just say pre-Hashimoto's. And I had this expectation that the doctor would just be able to look at me and see what was wrong with me. You know what I'm talking about? Like I thought somehow that they could just take, whatever little cryptic messages I was giving them, like I just don't feel great, or I have stomach pain sometimes, or I feel tired a lot. And then somehow it would like turn into this episode of House where they're running all these tests and would get to the bottom of my occasional tummy aches and tiredness. And you know what? In my 45 years of life on this planet, that really has just never happened. There's a lot of things I've learned along the way with this healing journey, especially as a thyroid patient, about what to realistically expect from those conventional doctor's appointments. And I really wish I knew them sooner, because understanding them has helped me speed along my healing journey. Barking up the wrong trees or waiting for that doctor who has a crystal ball in their medical bag is just a waste of our time. And I don't want you to waste time like I did, having unrealistic expectations from your doctor's appointments. So today I'm going to share what I wish I would have known sooner about realistic expectations from our doctors. Hello, thyroid thrivers. Welcome back to another episode of Thyroid-healthy Bites, a weekly podcast dedicated to helping you live well and eat well so you can feel well. I'm Ginny Mahar, your host and the face behind the apron at hypothyroidchef.com. All right, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here with me today. We're going to start with what not to expect from our doctors, and then we'll wrap it up with what we should expect from our doctors, because you need and deserve the gift that the right doctor can be in your life. A quick note before we get started today: one of the resources that I wish was available when I was starting out is Paloma Health. Paloma specializes in thyroid-specific testing, nutrition, and medical care. They offer telemedicine in an ever-increasing number of states. Last time I checked, it was over 30 states that are now covered by Paloma Health doctors. And they have MDs who really take a more comprehensive approach to thyroid treatment and offer a higher standard of care for thyroid patients with conventionally trained MDs who often also have some functional training, integrative, holistic training. Many of them are thyroid patients themselves who have realized there really is some room for improvement in that conventional standard of care. So one of Paloma's best resources is their complete at-home thyroid test kit. It's affordable, it's super accurate, and it includes all those biomarkers that are included in a complete thyroid panel. So TSH, free T3, free T4, and TPO antibodies tests. And you can also optionally add on reverse T3 and vitamin D3 testing. So I've partnered with Paloma so that I could get you 30% off of your at-home complete thyroid test kit from them by using the coupon code hypothyroidchef. This is a great way to support my work. It comes at no extra cost to you. And in fact, you get a really pretty amazing deal. It's very affordable with this coupon code. So it's just a win-win-win. So I wanted to be sure to share that solution for you at the top of the show, not only for, an option for getting the complete thyroid testing that we're sometimes denied at our conventional doctor's appointments, but also as an option for finding a better thyroid doctor if you are in a position like so many people are. I hear this all the time. It breaks my heart because it's such a roadblock. When you have a doctor who doesn't listen, who refuses to do anything more than TSH testing, who refuses to even discuss anything besides treatment with levothyroxine, who dismisses diet and lifestyle interventions, etc. I mean, I know so many of you know what I'm talking about, and I certainly was there, and it really cost me so much time, years of feeling horrible, just because I didn't know any better. So So that's what we're going to talk about today. I want you to know better. I want you to understand these things, sooner than I did. I will put that link to Paloma's test kit along with my discount code in the show notes for you in case you are due for a round of thyroid labs. That's a great way to kind of get to know a little bit about Paloma and about their services. All right, let's dive into the show with what not to expect from our doctors. Okay, so number one, we have to stop expecting our doctors to intuit what's going on with our health. And I think this is true for conventional, integrative, functional, or holistic doctors. The hard truth is that your doctor and really no one else in your life can intuit what's going on with you, what's going on with your health, how you feel in your body. There really is no crystal ball in that medical bag. So here's what we have to do instead. We have to keep notes, and we have to take the responsibility to communicate really clearly what's going on. Before your appointment, start thinking about, how do I feel? How do I feel throughout the day? If you're a woman, how do I feel throughout the month? What kind of symptoms seem consistent? Take notes, and remember, it's not a therapy session. It's a medical appointment. So try and keep it medically relevant. Now, what I always do is keep notes in my phone. I just use my notes app. And anytime I feel like, gosh, this is something I'd like to mention to my doctor, ask my doctor about, discuss with them, I just have this running list of notes. And so that when I get to the appointment, I have a few bullet points prepared so that I know that the most, high priority things are going to get discussed, because we've all experienced how quick a lot of those checkup appointments go. Sometimes these conventional doctors, the model they're in, they're seeing sometimes 20 patients a day. I can't even imagine what that's like. And they really are under the gun for having to be on this, schedule. So their time is really crunched. So having that, organizational planning and forethought is really going to help you get more out of your appointments. Okay, number two, we have to stop expecting our doctors to be the CEOs of our health. Okay, here's the hard truth. Nobody cares about your health as much as you do. Nobody knows how you feel and what you're going through health-wise, how that is in your body, the way you do. So you're in the driver's seat, and you're the one making those choices day in and day out that create your current picture of health. So here's what we have to do instead of expecting our doctors to be the CEO of our health. You have to stay organized, like we just talked about. You have to do the research, and you have to keep track of things. So things like checking out a book from the library, reading a great book on thyroid health to educate yourself about hypothyroidism, about Hashimoto's, about the thyroid, about medication options, about the diet and lifestyle interventions. That's what makes us empowered patients. And also, keeping track of things like those test results, having a spreadsheet, having a health journal file. Like I keep in my Google documents, I have a health log, and I make entries all the time. After every appointment, I make notes throughout it's another alternative to that notes app on my phone. I've got this running documents, probably over 100 pages at this point. And I started with an entire health history, like my whole childhood, drinking fluoridated water, growing up on the banks of a highly toxified river in Michigan, emotional traumas, surgeries, accidents, serious illnesses, things like that, just to give myself that big picture understanding of my health story. But also that health timeline continues to the present day. And so it's like this living document that I can consistently add to and go back to my notes from previous appointments, notes about different supplements I've tried, notes about different medication adjustments I've made, notes about different symptoms. It's really helpful to have those things because it's really hard to remember. And I know that for a long time, I felt like I was going to go to the doctor and they would just have this whole health history in their records, in their computer. And in a lot of cases, they just don't. But I know that I wasted a lot of time personally waiting for someone to do that work for me, and finally realized and had to accept that even with my holistic, functional, and conventional appointments, I had to track over time those test results. I had to track over time my symptoms. I had to track what interventions I was doing and how my body was responding to them. And that has just helped me build so much awareness as a patient. I strongly encourage you to just lean into that on your healing journey. I'm the CEO, I'm taking the reins of my health, and I am the one ultimately responsible for tracking, logging, paying attention to, and having awareness of these things. All right, number 3, and this is a big one. We have to stop expecting holistic medical advice and treatment from our allopathic MDs. Allopathic is another word for conventional MDs. Now, the lines here may be blurring, and I've heard that from medical professionals, that there is this sort of melding. There is a more like collaboration and open-mindedness to more functional ideas, more holistic ideas about health in the conventional world, and vice versa. And someday maybe we will be able to achieve that ideal where our conventional insurance covered healthcare both prevents and treats disease, but we're not there yet. And really, we have to understand the limitations that we're working within as patients. And we also have to understand the limitations the doctors are working in. So this isn't about vilifying conventional MDs. It's about understanding the model, and it's about understanding the philosophy and understanding, the pressures that they're under and what they can and can't help us with. So let's talk about the difference between allopathic versus holistic healthcare. As I mentioned, allopathic is another name for conventional. Allopathic medicine treats illness, injury, or disease using pharmaceuticals, radiation, like X-rays, or surgery. Okay, those things, those technologies are very, very important for people. When your life is on the line, you're going to the ER. You want those life-saving technologies. So that's allopathic medicine. On the other side, there's holistic, or what I sometimes call whole health oriented medical care. And that takes more of a whole health, whole life, whole body approach. Functional medicine, which is what I kind of specialize in as a functional medicine certified health coach, really takes a root cause approach to disease. So the shortest way to really differentiate between allopathic versus holistic is that allopathic is going to treat the disease, and holistic or functional or integrative or whole health oriented care puts more emphasis on preventing disease and optimizing health and maintaining health. So there's a really big difference there. Treatment versus prevention. And that's not to say there isn't, overlap. That's not to say your conventional doctor does not care about how you prevent disease. They absolutely do. And that's not to say that your naturopath, for example, can't treat your medical condition. So there is some blurring of the lines there, but that's just a very high level, overarching differentiation between allopathic versus holistic healthcare. So what do we need to do instead of expecting holistic medical advice from our allopathic MDs? I think this really comes down to not barking up the wrong tree. So if I break my arm, I don't call my naturopath. I go to the ER where they do X-rays, where they can give me some strong painkillers, where, I can have my arm reset and put in a cast, things like that. If I want advice or testing about things like diet and lifestyle, if I want to get a comprehensive picture of what's going on with my gut health and my microbiome, if I want to do some really comprehensive hormone testing or food sensitivity testing, I don't go to my MD for that. And I've tried that, and it's led to some uncomfortable conversations where sometimes I'd get a lecture about how those things weren't evidence-based and they weren't valuable, or yeah, we don't do that, or I don't know what that is, or, so just kind of understanding like which testing is in which realm. So here's an example, the Dutch test. This is what's considered the gold standard for comprehensive hormone testing. Really amazing for women who are reaching that midlife point, who feel like, whoa, my hormones are getting a little wonky. I'm in that camp, and I really wanted to see what's going on with my hormones. Is there anything I need to be addressing? Because a lot of those hormonal symptoms and thyroid symptoms, thyroid is a part of our hormonal system and our hormonal picture, right? Like which part of this is thyroid stuff, which part of this might be sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. How is my cortisol? That's our stress hormone. I wanted to get that big picture overview of my hormones. So I ordered a Dutch test, and I ordered the test myself, and I had it interpreted by a functional diagnostic nutritionist who gave me a lot of helpful information. And then I also took it to my naturopath, who gave me even more in-depth helpful information, and who was also able to prescribe me some things, recommend some supplements and things like that, some dietary changes, etc., to help me through, this part of my mid to late 40s and 50s. So that was really helpful. I went to my MD and I was asking her about, sex hormones and what kind of testing she could do for me. And I told her I had gotten the Dutch test done, and she had never even heard of it. It's just not in that realm. It's not something that's typically covered by insurance, unless you have insurance that covers holistic healthcare. And most of us don't. So what my conventional MD was able to do, because this was like a year later that I was seeing her, is I said, what kind of hormone testing can you do for me? Just so I can check in, I'm at an age where my hormones are really, they're in a state of flux and change. So I'm wanting to kind of keep an eye on those so I can be aware of what's going on with my sex hormones. And she was able to run testing for progesterone, testosterone, and estrogen, but it was not this comprehensive big picture analysis of how all those hormonal wires connect, how all the systems are talking to each other the way that I got with the Dutch test. Now, this can be really confusing because, as thyroid thrivers, we're curious, we're paying attention, we're keeping our ear to the ground, we're hearing about different tests, and we don't always know, well, what can I ask my doctor for? What should I ask my conventional doctor for? What should I maybe consider paying out of pocket to work with a whole health oriented practitioner on? And if you ever have questions about that, feel free to reach out for me. Drop me a DM, drop me a comment. Obviously, I'm not a doctor or a medical professional of any kind, but I am a patient advocate and an empowered and informed patient. So I've learned a little bit about these tests and who you may want to go to if there is a specific root cause test that you're interested in getting. All right, number 4. We have to stop expecting that our primary care doctor is going to be the one person to solve our health puzzle. This is something that, a lot of us as health coaches or functional healthcare practitioners hear from people like, fix me, just fix me, help me, be that person who's going to give me the answer, I need the solution, just tell me what to do. And sadly, it really doesn't work that way. I wish it did. I really, really do. It would make things a lot easier for all of us. But here's what we need to do instead of trying to find that one person, that one doctor who's going to be your fixer, is I think we have to embrace the idea of having a healthcare team. And in addition to that, I think we also should try to embrace the idea of investing in our health. Health is your greatest wealth. And in many cases, one of the best things you can do to speed along your healing journey, to get the answers you need, to find the person, the medical doctor who is willing to be that root cause detective for you, is to perhaps consider paying out of pocket for more whole health, functional, holistic, naturopathic, etc. type healthcare. That was a really tough pill for me to swallow because, like so many other American families, we paid dearly for health insurance. I wanted it to be covered by my conventional doctor's appointments, but I wasted 4 years essentially barking up the wrong tree, not getting the answers or the care I needed, not being empowered as a patient, being dismissed for feeling awful every day, just saying, well, your labs look good, so you're fine. And diet and lifestyle won't make a difference. And you just need to eat less and exercise more, and hearing all those very frustrating things that so many of us hear from our conventional appointments. And I just didn't know any better. And when I finally hit rock bottom, I made that tough choice to, you know what, it's time. I need more answers. I need to understand what's going on. I need a second opinion. And this is impacting my life so much that this is worth it. And you know what? It was worth it. It was absolutely worth it. And it was a different experience financially too, because my holistic medical provider, my naturopath, who's also a prescribing physician, understands that people are paying out of pocket. It's like a different billing model. She was very accommodating to, like, my budget, for example. Like, how deep do you want to go? Let's prioritize, things like that. So that's what I want for you too, if you are going to do that. And if that's not an option for you, I think a place like Paloma is just an amazing option, because that's where you can potentially find that insurance covered MD who's going to give you a complete thyroid panel, who's open to discussing things like nutrition, who's open to talking about different medication options, and who will not dismiss or invalidate your experience as a thyroid patient. And just a sidebar, I want to mention here, I think it's really important to know whether your practitioner is a prescribing physician. Once you do branch out into that holistic, functional, integrative medical realm, there's a lot of different titles. It can be really confusing. And I think one sort of foundational thing to understand about whatever type of practitioner you're talking to is, are you a prescribing physician? This is a key thing to note because it helps you understand a bit more about their training and what they can do for you. My MD, a conventional medical doctor, is typically, yes, a prescribing physician. My naturopath also went to medical school and is also a prescribing physician. Now, a nutritionist, a chiropractor, even a functional medicine practitioner is not necessarily, unless they have that additional medical training. Now, they don't have to be a prescribing physician to be on your healthcare team, but the reason you need to understand whether or not they are a prescribing physician is because it's going to help you understand the level of training they have, the level of medical understanding they have, and the options they have for treatment. And while I've worked with all kinds of practitioners, and many of them were not prescribing physicians, especially like in the nutrition realm, I do think it's really essential to have at least one on your team so that you can get your thyroid meds, so that you can have someone to work with who will do regular testing, comprehensive thyroid testing, and help you keep that medication optimized. That really is an essential person on that healthcare team. Because here's the pitfall. When you're trying to work with someone who maybe their title is, I'm a functional medicine practitioner, or I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, it can easily come across like, oh, you're like a doctor. You're going to be my doctor now. And I think sometimes what happens with those practitioners is they try to treat you using over-the-counter treatments and supplements where a prescription would be better. And this is why I really go into every appointment with that awareness and with that personal responsibility, and also with a bit of healthy skepticism. I'm ultimately the one in the driver's seat. Medical trainings and other healthcare certifications are hugely valuable. I totally respect that level of education that my healthcare practitioners have, no matter, how in-depth and involved it is. I think it's all wonderful, and we're lucky to live in a time where we have a lot of options to choose from. But I also understand the difference between the training that my general physician has versus, say, my functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner or my nutritional therapy practitioner or my naturopath or a holistic nutritionist. It's different. So if you are branching out, if you are making that very empowering choice for your health to potentially branch out from the conventional or allopathic model and try working with someone in the holistic, functional, integrative, naturopathic realm, make sure you understand what their training is and what their capabilities are. And it's totally legit when you first meet with them to ask, tell me about your training. Tell me about what you can offer me as far as treatment goes, so that you understand and know which trees to bark up and which trees not to waste your time on. All right, last one for what not to expect from our doctor's appointments. Number 5, stop giving away your power to any healthcare provider. I'm not saying ignore their advice. I'm saying stop expecting them to fix you, because nobody, no matter how good they are, no matter how highly trained or how passionate about their profession, can do the work for you. Your healthcare providers work for you. You are the captain of this ship, okay? For 4 years, I believed the really dismissive and invalidating messages that I was getting from my doctor. I didn't know any better. I felt like death. I could barely function. My life was falling apart. My career, my parenting, like my whole everything was falling apart. And the worst part of it was that because I was still in a mindset that the doctor's words were like gospel, I let it override my own knowing and my own wisdom and my own experience of living inside this body, which is something no doctor or person outside myself has. So I share that idea and that reminder with you. By the time I hit rock bottom, I really believed that I was losing my mind, that it really was all in my head, and that I must be going crazy. Because when you're told that over and over again as your life is falling apart, you really start to believe like, there's just something wrong with me. There's something in my head. Like I must be, maybe I just am a hypochondriac. Maybe my expectations of health are just too high. Maybe this really is just getting older, as my doctor suggested. But essentially what I was also doing was giving my power away to someone outside myself. I was letting someone else essentially gaslight me. I think unintentionally, but still, nonetheless, gaslight me. And ultimately, I am the CEO of my health. I'm not a doctor, but I am an expert on how I feel. And so are you. I'm going to share some words from my dear friend and mentor, Mary Showman. She says, the right doctor is an important advisor, but you should also trust your own instincts about your health. So here's what we need to do instead of giving away our power to any healthcare practitioner. Tune in and listen to your body. How do you feel? What works? What interventions are you doing? How is your body responding? Pause, get quiet, see how things feel in your body. Pay attention to how a treatment option resonates with you. And don't let anyone gaslight you and tell you that what you're feeling is all in your head. This is a great segue into the next part of the show where we're going to talk about what you should expect from your doctor. We hear a lot of unhelpful things from our doctors. It's all in your head. You just need to eat less and exercise more. You have fork and mouth disease. You're just getting older. Everyone's tired. Diet and lifestyle won't make a difference. Just take your levothyroxine and you'll be fine. Your TSH is normal, so you're fine. Your symptoms, that has nothing to do with your thyroid because your TSH is normal. Any of that sound familiar? Medical gaslighting is real. There was actually a big study that just came out about this in the last year, and it is much worse amongst female patients. As women, we are more often dismissed, diminished, and invalidated in the doctor's office. So this is from a New York Times article from March of 2022. It says, studies have shown that compared with men, women face longer waits to be diagnosed with cancer and heart disease, are treated less aggressively for traumatic brain injury, and are less likely to be offered pain medications. Do not settle for this from your doctor. We have to stand up for ourselves so that the paradigm can change. If your doctor is doing this to you, find a new doctor. So here's what you should expect from your thyroid doctor visits. You should expect to be listened to and believed regarding what you share with them about your health. You should expect to be given a complete thyroid panel of tests, including TSH, free T3, free T4, and thyroid antibodies, not just TSH. Your doctor should be open and willing to discuss the various options for thyroid medication, including natural desiccated thyroid or NDT options like Armour, not just synthetic. They should be open to discussing the possibility of adding in some T3 medication like Cytomel or like compounded sustained release T3 called liothyronine. If you have a particular brand of thyroid medication that works better for you, maybe because some of the brands of synthetic thyroid hormone medication that many of us are on contain problematic ingredients like gluten or dairy. If you find a brand that doesn't have those fillers or excipients that works for you, your doctor should be willing to write you a prescription for the brand name that works best for you if you have one. Because for some of us, being just on the wrong brand of levothyroxine is what makes that game-changing difference for us in how we feel. And if you have residual symptoms that their prescribed medications are not addressing, or maybe you've got symptoms that their prescribed medications are causing, you should expect that you will not be dismissed in bringing those up and wanting them addressed. Well, a conventional doctor does not really take so much of a root cause approach the way a functional medicine doctor does or a holistic medical doctor does. They should still respect the work that you've done as a patient that focuses on optimizing health and preventing disease. I share those things that I'm doing in that realm with my general physician, like that experience with the Dutch test. I went through this. I, interpreted it with 2 different people, including my naturopath. I'm now taking this prescription treatment. It's been a game changer. It works perfectly for me. I feel great. How do you feel about that? What kind of testing can you do? And it's just that collaborative, let's see what you can offer me within the limitations that you're working within. Because those conventional MDs are under a lot of pressure to not order any unnecessary testing. And really, when it comes to optimizing health and preventing disease, that's what I go to my naturopath for. That's where she's really a more ideal advisor for me as a patient. And I share the things that I work with my naturopath on with my MD, who I do expect my MD to at least listen to and consider this information instead of just dismissing it as quackery just because it falls outside of that conventional dogma. We should all be able to expect that our doctors do not tell us that our symptoms are all in our heads, or just an inevitable part of aging, or your fault. Their job is to help you, and that's not helpful. That is invalidating, and it's dismissive. That's what gaslighting is. So telling someone there's not actually a problem when there truly is, when they are feeling and experiencing a problem, is gaslighting. And there are some pretty major limitations to the kind of advice and options that a conventional MD within the current healthcare model can offer. They should not just trash or dismiss the healthcare you've done outside that model. You should be able to expect that they help you identify and address some deficiencies, some underlying infections, some other issues in order to maintain optimal health. You should be able to hope that they will use the tools and abilities and options at their disposal to help you as much as they possibly can. And you should be able to expect that they treat you, the whole human being, not just the lab results. If your TSH, for example, is in the so-called normal range, that range is much wider than what functional medicine considers the optimal range. And even if it is in the optimal range, just because your TSH is normal or optimal, if you're still not feeling well, if you still feel like you're having those thyroid-related struggles like super low energy, inability to lose weight, hair loss, joint pain, depression, just feeling flat, all that stuff, I think we should all be able to expect that we have a respectful, collaborative conversation with our doctors about that. And finally, I mentioned this before, I'll say it one more time, you should expect from your conventional doctor that they are a prescribing physician who can provide you with prescription thyroid medication in addition to comprehensive thyroid testing. I think this is an area where as patients, we just have to keep asking and keep asking and keep asking until this becomes standard. Sadly, a lot of these things do not happen at our conventional medical appointments, and this is really to the detriment of thyroid patients far and wide. And really a lot of that is because the model is broken. The doctors are typically not the villains here. The healthcare system is, which is actually a sick care system, and it's designed to treat people who are sick or injured. I really hope for and dream of a day where this is different and those lines are beginning to blur, but we're in the midst of this massive paradigm shift. I think it's a planetary paradigm shift that we are in the midst of, and that shift is very much affecting our healthcare system deeply. Things are starting to kind of fall apart. And I think that falling apart is somewhat just like a necessary part of the process of getting to where things are better. And part of why that's changing, part of what is sparking and catalyzing that change is that as patients, we expect more. We're more educated, we're more empowered, we have more access to information. And I believe that the vast majority of people who go to medical school do so because they want to help. And many of them get into practicing medicine and become totally disenfranchised by this dysfunctional model that they're expected to work within. I just had a doctor like that on the show, and she's far from the first that I've heard this story from. She actually left her conventional medicine practice and switched to practicing functional medicine because she was a thyroid patient who also had MS, who also was on this like downward cascading health crisis and wasn't able to get help as a patient with the tools and resources that were in that conventional realm. You hear that story a lot. So we're getting there. There's glimmers, but we're not there yet. And the reality is that we are still working within this pretty dysfunctional box when it comes to conventional thyroid care and treatment. So all I'm trying to do today is give you awareness and solutions for where we're at today, because no one should be suffering needlessly, debilitated, invalidated, gaslighted, and ultimately denied treatment and testing that we need so that we can thrive, so that we can live our lives, so that we can have a quality of life, so that we can raise our kids, pursue our dreams, and live just a functional life. So having this understanding and awareness is how we get there for now. But I'm going to continue to hold hope for a better tomorrow for thyroid thrivers. And in that spirit, I just want to share, like, in a perfect world, this is like my dream and my vision for what I wish it were like for us. So in a perfect world, a thyroid doctor would help you address these questions. Is my body absorbing or converting my medication? If I don't feel my medications are working well for me, is there another medication or medication combo that's maybe better for me? Are there underlying root cause issues to my hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's? What about diet and lifestyle? How can they help? If my TSH is normal, why do I still feel symptomatic? Can I have a complete thyroid panel? That includes not just TSH, but also free T3, free T4, reverse T3, and antibodies testing. Is my thyroid condition actually an autoimmune condition? And if I do have an autoimmune condition, not just a thyroid condition, can you help me understand my autoimmune thyroid condition and what I can do to protect my thyroid and my health from worsening autoimmune conditions or compounding autoimmune conditions? And finally, is my downward health spiral related to my thyroid issues? And what can I do to reverse the spiral? If you need more help with this, I do have a blog post called How to Find a Good Thyroid Doctor. If you want to see that list of questions, if you want to look at options, and if you also want to see some Find a Doctor resources. So I will link to that blog post in the show notes. We really need and deserve answers to these questions if we want to feel better. And the reality that I really want you to leave here understanding today is that it's going to require either an MD with additional functional medicine training, like those at Paloma Health, who are holistically oriented. So we're talking functional, integrative, holistic, or naturopathic training. If you are searching for a new thyroid care doctor, please explore your options at Paloma Health. You can start by ordering your own complete at-home thyroid blood test kit from Paloma. And if you use the code HypothyroidChef, you'll get 30% off. Last time I checked, it was $69 total with that coupon code, which is crazy affordable, and their kits are very accurate. It's also a great way to get onboarded with Paloma and paired with doctors and nutritionists who can help you get the treatment and advice and care that you deserve. So I will pop that into the show notes once again. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If so, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. I'm Jenny Mahar, wishing you the best of health. See you next time.